All right, we're back here with the 100-watt JMP Marshall, and we are T-minus 6 days until the gig where I want to play this amplifier. So we got to get moving on some things. We're not going to probably have time to do the full recap. I'm not going to worry about that right now. The amp sounds very good. Sounds healthy to me. Sounds quiet, no hum, so I'm not really worried about that right now. We'll circle back. There are a few other things that I am worried about, though, and then one cosmetic piece. So I've still got a box of parts for the amplifier here. A couple of things I'll point out. First, smaller zip ties. So we'll redo all of this with smaller zip ties for now. Next, some resistors here. So these are 1K. I think these were like 7 watt, I want to say. These will be replacing the screen resistors on here. These white ones, these were not factory. And they test fine, but I just want to go with these. These are more vintage correct as I understand it for this amplifier. So those will be replaced. And then kind of the bigger two things would be the standby switch. So I showed in the first video of the series when I was trying to turn it on, the amp was not turning on. Troubleshooting, discovered it was basically a really dirty, corroded standby switch. And I sprayed it with deoxit, cycled it a bunch of times, and that seemed to have fixed it. And then since then, I played the amp some more, and all of a sudden it just kind of died. And did this a couple times, and all of a sudden it came right back. So definitely the standby switch is still not happy. I'm sure if I continue cleaning it, it could probably be good, but I just don't trust it right now. So we're going to remove that. I found somebody on eBay selling a couple of the bat switches that Vox also used. My 64 AC10 uses the same, at least it looks externally the same type of flat switch here. So I grabbed 2 of them just so I had to back up. The only thing I'm not sure about is how to actually remove the dress washer for a Marshall. So I got to figure that out. There's a special tool or something. I just don't want to mess anything up. So that won't be done tonight, but that's on the radar. And then the last kind of critical piece for me is the selector switch here. So right now it's hardwired, but I want to make sure that this is able to run a different cab if I have to. So I went ahead and polished the original selector here. So it's nice and clean, good to go. And then I also was able to kind of bend the pins in here, just like you would on a tube socket, kind of folding the pins in so that they grab onto the 2 pins tighter. Same deal here, same concept here. So now if I were to put it in the 16 ohm tap, I have to force it in, and if I pull it, you can see I'm moving the entire heavy amp and it's not coming out. So I have to like hold the amp down to pull it out. So it's really tight now. I trust this, and this gives me the flexibility to go over to 8 ohm as well, which just in case something happens with the cabinet, whatever, I want to be able to switch over to a different, more standardized impedance. So 16 and 8 will be the goal. So we just have to undo the black wire that's running from here, and I just moved it from the center lug over to the lug where the 16 ohm tap is. So we'll just move that back to the center lug, and that'll be good to go. So I think we'll start there, knock these out tonight. I'll figure out how to do this tomorrow, and then we'll fire it up again and make sure everything's all good. And yeah, and then we'll see what else it needs, but we're running out of time here. All right, so it's not perfect, but it is definitely more organized and more put together. I'm a bit limited on certain things, like just wires being short from the replaced power transformer. What you're going to do there, and yeah, it's okay. I'm not I'm not blown away by it, but I do think it looks better than the original full-size zip ties, and it is a bit more organized. So I'm happy with that for now. We can go ahead and continue on with the amp here. I think we'll go ahead and move this, and we might call it a night because it's already pretty late, and then tackle the screen resistors in this tomorrow. So let's get this done. All right, I'm not sure if you could see any of that, but the connections were redone. Nice solid mechanical connections as well as good solder connections. So I'm feeling very happy about that. And this should be good to go. So that I don't forget, let's make sure we put this in. And we'll just have to have to remind ourselves of that. But like I said, I literally cannot pull it out. It will not come out without forcefully holding the amp in place and pulling it. So it's very, very sturdy. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and end tonight. I think it's pretty late. What time is it? Yeah, 1:36 in the morning. So we'll end here and then pick up tomorrow. One other thing I want to note that I don't think I've said before, other things I've done to the amplifier, the knob situation has been at least temporarily solved. Don't know if I'll be able to lean it back for you guys to see here, but a very, very kind gentleman sent me some knobs here. And you can see these two are different than the rest. Well, actually, the bases on all of them, but this one are the same. And in short, I think I showed it before in the previous episodes of the series, but in short, the amplifier, the bass knob was missing a cap. And then the volume knob here was already replaced with this pointer style. Which, I don't know if you can see the pointer. Just there, you can just barely see it. My finger behind it. So this pointer style is actually pretty rare in and of itself. Maybe I'll just try and lean it so you can see that. So yeah, he had several of those. Now, the problem with them is that they're actually different on the inside. So actually, let me go grab one real quick. So I did not know this was the case, but the inside of them, here's the top outside of the pointer. These are totally different. I'm not going to take one of these off to show you guys, but basically all of these hollow points on the sides, these cavities, do not exist on the older JMP knobs, at least not on the original ones on here. They're fully solid there. So this is I guess a much cheaper knob in the fact that it's not solid plastic, it's or whatever it's made of. It's got the cavities in there, so it's actually very fragile, and they all have some little cracks in them. This is probably the best one. Most of them have cracks that go right through the center portion here. And the problem is that the knobs, or rather, sorry, the shafts of the original pots, they have a little flat edge to them. So they're not a perfectly round shaft. And as a result, when you screw in the grub screw, it's going to put additional pressure. They're going to have to go in even tighter than they would on a normal shaft, which will cause them to crack more. So this pot has already been changed, so it's already got the solid shaft on the end of the pot. So this knob change is not a problem. That one fits just fine. But all the others, they don't fit correctly. And so basically what I did is one of the knobs he gave me, the top was already off of it. So I took the top that was had already unglued itself and put it on the knob that did not have a cap on it at all. So it's the original non-pointer, but you can't tell looking at it. They look basically the same. So this one is the original knob. This is the pointer knob. So if you look for the differences, you can find them, but otherwise you can't. But from the front, they're identical because they've got the same caps on them. And, or at least, looks like a slightly different chamfered edge there, but very similar. You know, we're really, really getting nitty gritty here. But either way, it looks correct from the front. It actually looks kind of cool. Both the volume controls are slightly different and the rest are the same. And then I was able to move the correct knob that was totally fine from this volume control to the bass knob. So there's no missing cap, which bothers me much more than these two looking slightly different. So there's that. And then on the back for the master volume control, if you guys remember, it had, just see that there. If you remember, it had a broken Fender style knob. So this is one of the pointers back here again, because this knob or this pot is not an original style like these. It's a solid shaft. These fit just fine over that. And this one was pretty chewed up, the cap itself. So this was never going to be used for anything because it's so beat up, but it's perfect for the back master volume. So that's that. And yeah, I think that covers it. So we'll go ahead and pick this up tomorrow, finish it up. Hopefully the standby switch is a permanent fix, and then we can kind of start practicing with the amp in preparation for the gig. So it's a new day, and we can go ahead and tackle these screen resistors. Tubes obviously removed from the sockets, so we're not burning up those pins. And yeah, we'll go ahead and see how cleanly we can remove these. We might just end up cutting them to make it a bit easier on ourselves. Yeah, let's see. We'll try and tackle one. This is a bit difficult for me to really see. The camera, just the size of the chassis, makes it really hard for me to kind of get a good angle without hitting the camera and the mic. So we'll give this a shot on the easiest one here, and I might have to adjust things so it's better for me, worse for you guys. We'll see. So just trying to think about how high and off to the side I want to lift these. There's really no room for these two here. So to keep them all level, they basically have to just be straight up. So normally, like on a fender, I'd mount it out like that, but there's no room. So we'll just kind of lift it up about yay high. So it's elevated, but then there's still, some separation. And I'll have it so 1K is towards the top there. Probably just finger bend these over. All right, that was a lot more work than I thought it would be. The pins were just a bit tarnished, and the solder didn't want to stick to them super well, so it took a few tries of cleaning and removing with braid. But yeah, that looks sturdy, solid, so we can continue on. So all that's left to do really now is just replace the standby switch, which may be easier said than done. We'll see. I'm going to see how hard it is to get this dress washer off without damaging anything. I don't have a proper tool for that. I'm not really sure where I would find that, what it's called. So I'm just going to take a look at it, see if it seems fairly straightforward. And if not, then we're just going to skip it. And I guess I'll try and clean it out some more. But yeah, definitely something I want to fix before the gig because the amp did fail when I was playing it at home with a friend, just sitting there. And again, that fixed it, just doing that a few times. So it's definitely a standby switch. Not ideal. So I want to be sure to trust it. So I'm going to try really hard, and we'll cut I'll cut you guys in if I'm able to get some movement on it. Well, it was actually easier than I thought. I just used one of these tools that you typically use with like a Gibson with the nut on the poker chip, as well as bridge post and other ways you can use this. And yeah, it worked perfectly fine. So no damage at all. And we got the original one here. So we'll go ahead and remove this original nut. We'll reuse that and disconnect these 4 wires, connect them on the new. We should be good to go. And we're done. Okay, so we can go ahead and turn the amplifier on, warm it up a bit, and confirm all of those changes are okay. And then tomorrow I'm hanging out with a buddy, and I will be bringing this amp, cranking it up to make sure it is healthy and good to go for the gig coming up in about 5 days. So step 1, let's turn it on and make sure everything is okay. And fingers crossed. Standby is off. And then now if I go ahead and flip the switch, if it's working properly, we'll get high voltage here. Let's do that. Bam, 300 volts. Again, we only have 100 volts from the wall with the current limiter and chain. So not full voltage. And then if I go ahead and turn up the volume, we should hear some hiss from the cab. We do. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's very present. And that also confirms that we did the impedance selector correct, because I'm running through an 8 ohm cab using the little plastic guy there. So it looks like everything we did is functioning. So now we just got to play it real quick, test it. So we'll plug into the aux box because it's too late to run through a cab, and confirm she's golden. Continuing on with the Marshall restoration here, we've got the legs on the bottom of the head cab. These are absolutely trashed. You can clearly tell without a shadow of a doubt just how much this amplifier was used. I mean, these have been completely shaved down. There's nothing left of the cup that's normally there. Yeah, these have been used a ton. Same deal on this side. So normally these are supposed to do this. They kind of pop out, and they've got this little bit of foam and stuff, and it helps them to kind of suspend and have a little bit of like a shock absorber, basically, from what I understand. And this one doesn't move at all. This one moves. The other ones are all trash. You can kind of see there's a bit of foam inside there. That's what I'm referring to. So I don't know how hard it is going to be to work on these, but a very, very kind gentleman named Todd provided a bunch of these feet, and then he also provided 2 backup assemblies. So basically, go like this. Yeah, that's a project I want to knock out real quick. So we'll have to figure out what we want to do to replace the foam, but first let's get the old feet off. I know it's gonna be very brittle plastic, so let's try and be very careful and see if we are able to do it easily. All right, this side done. So we've got all of the legs replaced, and we shouldn't have to worry about that for a very, very long time. Don't have as much travel as the stock foam did. I ended up using old mouse pads I just cut up, which works fine. Just gives a little bit of shock, not as much as the original. I could swap back in the originals, but they're so flat. I think this is probably the better move. So not going to overthink it, and we can continue on.